What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video slash tutorial slash devlog. In this video, we're gonna update our project to Unreal 5.0 Preview 2. I think that's the version that is currently on the Epic Store. I think that this is useful for any sort of migration from any version in the past and from now on in the future as well. I think that pretty much the standards also apply for any sort of migration from projects. I would just highly recommend, so if you're like in a really old version of Unreal Engine, you're probably going to have a lot more issues than I had during this upgrade. So try to climb the ladder one step at a time. So if you're like, I don't know, 4.11 or something, go to 4.12, 4.13 or something like that, because between versions, some functions might be just deleted from the source, and between versions, they, pop you up deprecating warnings or something like that. So you can, before migrating to other versions, just rewrite your functions to that new standard or something like that. That's something that we're going to do as well as part of this video. So first of all, the first thing you need to make sure is that you have the Visual Studio version supported by that engine version installed in your machine and into the latest version possible for that. So in Unreal 5.0, the version of Visual Studio is 2019, and I had an issue where I was not being able to generate the files from my project once I migrated to it, and the issue was just my Visual Studio was just outdated. So I went to help, and then I went to check for updates, and then once the update was checked, if Visual Studio just said like, oh, you have an update to install, and then I installed that, and then after that everything was fine. And I just wanted to give like a quick shout out for Rama, because I found that while migrating to Unreal 5.0, that this issue is solved by just updating Android Studio, not Android Studio, the Visual Studio. So if you're having like this issue when generating your files, that's probably it. So if you have like this, require a minimum of whatever, please install the latest. It's just update your Visual Studio. So that's one. And second, you need to delete all the files from previous, like unneeded files from your local folder. In that sense, like since we are using like a C++ project, we need to delete like all the IDE files and all the intermediate save like generated files, like even the solution file, you need to delete it. So you just grab all the files, leave the content, the config, the source, which is pretty much like the code itself, and if you have any tests or something like that, you'll leave it as well. So you just delete it. Boom. That's step 2. And the third step is you always click with the right button and just go to switch Unreal Engine version. And in that sense, I am on 4.27. I go to 5 and then I hit OK, and then it's going to generate the project files. And if that generates this issue regarding the Visual Studio, that's probably because you need to update your Visual Studio. So if you see that issue, you need to update your Visual Studio and delete the files and regenerate that again. Okay, that's step 3. Now, if you try to open the project, it's not going to work because there's a lot of incompatibility going on, and that's what we're going to talk right now. So first of all, open that with your editor. I'm not using Visual Studio for this, so I can close that out. I am using Writer, which is pretty faster, and the IntelliSense is a lot faster than Visual Studio. So I just open that up, and we need to wait for everything to just load. All right. So now that everything is loaded, it's asking for me to install the plugin into the game, which I'm not gonna do it. So, in the same way, if you're using Writer, make sure that you have the latest Writer version installed, because Unreal 5.0 is pretty new. So if you have like a pretty old version, it may not support the Unreal 5.0 syntax and the new coding or whatever for IntelliSense. So make sure that you also go to Help and check for updates. And if you have an update for Writer, just install it as well, because I saw that this was recently announced by the IntelliJ and then they've added support for 5.0 recently. So make sure that you have also Writer updated if you're using that. Otherwise, just go for Visual Studio right away. So now if you try to compile the project, if everything is up to date, it should work just fine. However, I think it's not going to work because there's a lot of other issues that comes between migrations, so you're probably going to see a lot of issues going on. All right, so as expected, the build failed, and there's a lot of things that we need to fix it. So that's the good thing. That's the good thing about Writer. It kind of tells you like what you need to fix. And if you go to the other sections, like later, it's probably gonna. If you go to the problem section or something, like later, it's gonna show you like overrides or something like that. So let's fix first the issues. So it's saying that my unit test is now failing because we're like doing some overrides in the wrong way or something like that. So what's the issue now is, and well, that might need debugging or something, but I already did that. So if you're doing like debugging locally, you can see that if you, once it actually compiles, you can see that it kind of tells you like what's the difference if you mouse over. So it's actually trying to compare like a double to a float. So between version 4.4.27 and 5.0, they actually changed the z value to a double instead of a float. So we need to cast that value into a double, otherwise the test equal is never going to match. So in order to fix this, I am going to cast this value into a float. And to do that, I can just cast it into the regular C++ casting. So now this value is going to be casted into a float, and the result is going to be the float value as well. The other solution would be change this value to a double, but I figured that is a lot easier just to casting the value to a float. And that might be the same thing for this one. The on is also a double, so I'm going to do that for pretty much like everywhere that is complaining about it. So I'm going to go to this issue, and then it's going to have like another issue over here, which I just fixed. And there's also going to have no, it's not going to have another issue. So now I'm going to try to compile again. So that would fix the first issue with the migration, which is basically like some like unit test is not working because Unreal Engine between versions changed its variable type. So therefore you can compare a double to a float. So you need to cast it or convert the value in order to the test equal to actually function properly. So there we go. Let's compile again, and let's wait for the next issue then. All right, so now that everything actually compiled, and we should be able to run the code itself. However, if you go to the build section, you see that we have a lot of our other warnings, but it should open now the project itself, and you should be able to play it and run it around. So, but we need to test it still and see if everything is working. But at least the project now compiles, so everything is at least compiling now. So, and now it's asking to update the project file. Let's do it. And there we go. Now the project is completely migrated to 5.0. The UI, it's a bit different. I think it's a lot better, but we can do a different video like on how to control and like what's the difference between the UI between 5.0 and 4. Whatever version, which is pretty much the same. So, and like uh, so yeah, let's keep going. So, okay, these warnings now, you need to be careful with them because now that we're in preview, it's compiling. But once you go to to the full or final 5.0 version, this game may not compile again. And that's because this warning is saying like, please update your code to the new API before upgrading to the next release. Otherwise, your project will no longer compile. So we need to address that. And what this issue is saying that the sponge damage notify function is just deprecated. So let's go to that and let's wait for the IntelliSense to tell us what's actually wrong with it. So if you hold Control and click it, you can see that there is a couple more, like one extra parameter into the version, like the official version. So if you go to the punch damage now, you can see that there's this warning, and then it's saying that this is deprecated. And if you go to the notify, there's nothing in it now. The new notify function actually has these extra parameter on it, which like it's pretty much the same thing, but with this extra parameter. We don't know what that actually does yet, but we don't care now. We just want to fix our code. And we are not messing around with new stuff into Unreal Engine anyway. So we just go to the punch damage into the function declaration, and we actually go to the declaration and we add that on this way. Oops, I actually added without needing it. So we can just go to notify and add it as well, and we should be good to go. We now need to pass this parameter as well as part of the call for the notify, and boom, no warning anymore. Another issue fixed. Let's go to the next one, next warning then. So this warning is our code, so it's not saying like anything regarding the UE5. So it's not saying like it's not going to compile once the Unreal 5 it's out. So we don't need to worry about that warning right now. Let's go to the next one, which is pending queue should no longer be used is valid is checked or whatever instead. So these functions now are also deprecated, and again, they're always inside of our tests. So how do we fix that? So first of all, we already have this pending queue pending again here. So it looks like we don't have this, we don't need this pending queue because this function was like a dupes, and for some reason it was needed for 4.27, which is pretty cool. So we don't need that anymore. So we can just remove that. And this one, it says that, but we need this unreachable option. Depending key we don't need anymore because it's already here. So we need to understand like what's the unreachable version of it. So we have this is unreachable option here. So you can see that there's like a lot of options, but one of them is unreachable. So we can just try to go to is unreachable, and that should fix. And we can do that same thing for the other warnings, which is pretty much the same thing. So is unreachable, and there we go. We don't have those warnings anymore. So now both of them have been fixed. And so the next version, official version of Unreal Engine is not going to, cause any issues when compiling again, when migrating to the official 5.0, 5.1, or whatever version they're going to release later. We have another one, which is this inventory slot, which is a UI thing. So we set the brush size here into our constructor, into the native construct event. But this is deprecated, and we need to use the set desired size override instead. So let's call that one then. So thumbnail, what's the name of it? Set desired size override. Is that the one? Let me check it. Yeah, I think that's the one. So we can pass again. Let's check if the parameters are the same. Yeah, that's effector TD, so we can use the same thing. Let's go back. We can send the same thing. Just copy and paste it. Well, copy and paste it. And then there we go. We can just delete this line, and boom, fixed. So let's try to stop it and compile again and see if there's any warning regarding the API, not warnings regarding our code. Of course, it's always good so we don't have any warnings in our code, but sometimes you just can, deal with all of them. So yeah. But we need to deal with the most important ones, which is like, okay, if you don't deal with it, your game is just not going to compile on the next official version or something like that. We need to deal with those. Okay, so now we compile, the project is already loading, and we should be good to go. No warnings anymore, so that means that our code is going to compile regardless. Like this warning is like to the code declaration or something, but it doesn't mean like it's not going to compile for the next Unreal Engine version or something like that. So it's just like a bad coding, I'd say. So okay, just like a code smell that we're probably going to need to fix it later. So now the project compiles, so we don't have any warnings regarding like things not working in future releases or something like that. So in your case, you may have like different issues, different functions that are not working, or different things that Unreal, managed to change between versions, and you're gonna need to fix it in order to compile between like an old version and the new one. But in a nutshell, it's pretty much how things actually work. So you need to figure it out, like what are the difference between your project and whatever that your project is using, and whatever the newest version of Unreal Engine is calling now uh, into the newest version. So you need to adapt your code to the newest version during the whole migration process. Okay, so that's the initial thing. Now we need to test it out and see that if everything is working. So let's capture like a couple items and see if everything's working. And as you can see, there's the AI that we put into idling or something last time. So let me see if everything's working. So we press T. We have the weapons. Oh, but we don't have the preview that we usually had. So we need to fix that as well. So, but the icons looks that they're loading, but we need to fix the preview. So let's see what's actually going on with this. So let's go to the details and see if we can find the dummy actor somewhere. Where's the dummy? Dummy. There we go. Let's press on it. F. Where is it? So for some reason it's just not rendering. Oh, it is. Oh, that's odd. That looks to be like a, yeah, that's really odd. So if you look at like, if you look into different angles, sometimes it renders, but if you look right in front of it, it doesn't. So that looks like a glitch into the engine itself. I don't know if this is something that they intend to remove like by the end of it. But anyway, let's do a workaround for now. And we probably might need to, if they decide to not fix this issue or they completely remove rendering outside of the sky sphere, we might need to come with a different, way of rendering that. So let's try to rotate this in a way that we can see the front of it. I think that's okay. So we can now see the front of it. And let's hit play again and see if it works. So T, there we go. We have our character back and everything's working. We can see that it's working as well. Now let's check the unit test. So let's go to the window. Oh, test automation is right up here. So let's go to test automation and let's run our test and see what's going on. So let's run all the tests. Let's just remove the magic points because that's still not implemented. So let's go back and see if everything is going to play out just fine. Let's just remove the dummy because I know it's going to crash. So where's the dummy? We have an issue to fix here. So let's remove that as well. Let's hit a play and see if everything passes or not. Okay, there's a lot of issues. Whoa, there's a lot of issues that we need to fix. So let's wait until that's finished and we can analyze the issues after that. Okay, so now everything is finished. We can check by the warnings and errors what's actually going on. I saw that this attempting to release an actor with no handle, it's actually an issue with the engine itself. So if you go back to the stamina and to the level blueprint and actually go to the outlook log and look for this specific log, which is attempting, oh, not CMD, sorry, it should be this way. Attempting, you can see that is from Chaos, which is like the Neo destruction system from a rear engine. So it looks like it's something with the Chaos thing. It doesn't look like it's something in our code. So it's probably like a bug that they need to fix. And I found something like at least one question into a forum regarding this specific issue, and nobody actually answered. So I don't know how to fix that. It's still, or if it that's need to be fixed on our end, anyways. And so the test shouldn't fail because of that. They should have failed because of the not because of the warnings, but it should fail because of the other issues, which is this one. So it looks like we're failing this test for some reason, and we need to fix that as well. So let's check it out. What's actually going on? And it's possibly because something is being casted in the wrong way. So let's check it out. So okay, divide by 0, x is none, into which WBP main player blueprint. So yeah, that's the placeholder or the, yeah, I know what it is. So let me just go WBP. Okay, so it's this blueprint. It looks like there's something being cast as none. And so it might be something might have been screwed up during the migration process. So let's check it out. So, okay, this widget has some issues. Let's fix it. So what's going on with this? So it's saying that as axis is not, yeah, that's, this cast is just broken for some reason. So let's just add like this one, let's convert to an impure cast. And let's just do that if that passes. So if it passes, do whatever you need to do. Otherwise, just don't do it anyway. Don't do it. Let's try to compile. Now it's complaining about other things. So this widget literally has an issue with it. So what's that? It's saying that you cannot bind the delegate to this, even though it's here. So let's remove binding. It looks like it's something regarding the engine version for some reason. So let's remove the binding from those two, because for some reason the binding created on Unreal 4.27 is not working here. So let's recompile and see if that works. Now it works. So let's recreate those bindings and see what's going on. So yeah, so let's go back and recreate the bindings. Create binding. Okay, create a binding. Let's copy it over everything. For some reason, these bindings, that's why I hate Blueprint so much when coding, because from version to version, a lot of things can get screwed up. And sometimes the issue is not very clear. So let's do this way. So let's remove this one then, because everything's here now. And let's put this. And if it fails, let's just return none, like 0 or empty or something like that. And let's just rename that. Actually, let's delete this one first and just rename that to whatever we want it to, which is get life%. Cool. So one done. Let's go to the second one. Create a new binding as well. You can see that it only showed up the life% that were created on 5.0, not on the other one. So let's just do the same thing here and just copy it over everything and paste it to this one instead. So let's copy it over, copy and paste it, copy and paste it, and this one goes right here. And again, this is just like a testing widget. I'm not going to pull it into the final version of the game. This is just like a prototype, so it can, once I'm still not happy with the result. Like I'm never going to put something in the text, but I'm still not happy with the result that I'm seeing here. So I don't know. I'm probably going to change. And once I have like a final version of the UI that I'm happy with, I'm going to convert everything to C++ later. So I don't have this issue down the line anyway. So let's just remove this function now that it's migrated and rename this one to get 90%. And let's make sure that everything is binded correctly. So it's binded, it's binded. So we shouldn't see this issue. Now it's compiling. Let's go back to the session front end and go back to the automation section. And yeah, we're probably going to need to hot reload the whole thing because it's just not opening up. There we go. So tools, let me just remove again the same tests. So magic points, I remove the dummy player, and let's see if that's going to work now. So you see a lot of greens now. And again, the warning is just like warning. It's not going to fail the test into the pipeline later on. So you can just ignore warnings if you wanted to. Like this is, again, a warning from the Unreal Engine itself. It's not something that we can actually fix it. Or we could fix it, but we need to dig deeper into the Unreal Engine code and fix the issue and maybe compile and create an MR or something for the Unreal Engine project itself, the source code, and maybe they can put that into the next release or so. So yeah, you can see that the test now is passing, but I didn't put this one because I know that something is wrong with the specific version of Unreal like 5.0. And it's not an issue with this version, with the previous one, because these tests should haven't been passing in the first place into the previous versions. So it should not be. I don't know how this was working before. I'm gonna be honest with you. So if I open up these dummy characters, let me just go back to the map that I was, which is the tab tests. So if you look it out again now for the dummy actor and you open that up, you can see that if you open the full blueprint mode that it has the face mesh and everything like from the character itself. However, during the test itself, this test is running in a specific map. And what this actually does, it actually grabs whatever the character has it. I have a previous video on how to set up the whole thing. I'm gonna leave it linked below into the description on how I set up this one. But basically, what it does is if the character has a lot of things into his inventory, these dummy actor is going to update with all the meshes that the character actually has it. However, on my test, I don't set up all the things. If you go play, like the character starts with, let me just actually eject this. So let me just eject this. Where's the eject button? Eject, there we go. So if you go to the dummy character now and press F and renders in a way that they can't, yeah, you can see that now. It has the same information as my character has it. However, it doesn't have a couple meshes. Like there's a few meshes that are still empty, and they are like the belts mesh that we don't have like a belt setup. As you can see, like this is just like an empty mesh. We don't have a helmet or something like that. So there's a few meshes that are null. And if you just hit play on that task specifically, you'll see that the engine is actually going to crash. So if you go back to that task specifically, which is the dummy character test, so let's go to the games, dummy actor test, there we go. So this is the unit test, and as you can see, it opened up this pickup test map, and then the test itself, what's gonna do is gonna open that map, and then it's gonna do a couple checks. So it's gonna do like and check that all the meshes from the player is actually equal to whatever the meshes that we have on the dummy actor. However, some meshes like the backpack, for example, the character doesn't have any backpack setup right now. Like I didn't do like the backpack setup initially, so it's not gonna have a static mesh. So this backpack mesh pointer is gonna be null. So if that's null, once it's trying to access, it's gonna crash. And the same goes to other and others, you know, meshes that I didn't actually create it once I start working with the character itself. If I had mocked up everything from the beginning, I could just access that way. But if it's not, if it's not valid, for example, I should do the same thing as I did for the weapon. So the character doesn't start with any weapon. So I need to check if I do have any static mesh before actually trying to check if it's equal anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So let's fix this task. Okay, temp number 1. Number 2, let's see if everything is fixed now. So I kind of did whatever I told you to do, like check whatever meshes. I forgot to delete a couple ifs and a couple test equals after that, but let's check it out if now it's gonna work. So we had the face, the helmet, and the hair, which is pretty much the same thing, I think. Like, let me just delete this clear old thing so we don't have any errors going on. So let's go back to the session front end, wait until everything's loaded, all the unit tests, but the magic points. Let's hit play again. And I don't know why this was not crashing on 4.27. It should have been crashing because I am checking for something that it's actually new. But for some reason, that getName function returns like an empty string on 4.27. And if it's equal, I mean, that's whatever I care. Like, that's for what I care about. So yeah, now I have everything fixed. And the tests are now back passing. And my project is fully migrated. Let me see if I do have any other warning other than the Unreal bug warning that I saw. So I don't think I do. I think that they're all attempting whatever. Oh, there is a few one. There's one now. So yep, there's another issue there that we need to fix. And this is regarding this test level. There is this navmesh version 13 or whatever, and that's for some reason, that might be the version of navmesh on the previous version of the Unreal Engine. So let's check what's the map. Is the ftest pickup map. So let's go back to that map instead and ftest pickup map. And to fix that is just a matter of like, to just remove the nav mesh and re-adding. So let's just go back to the volumes, nav mesh bounds volume. So I do have like a new nav mesh over here. And let's just check back what are the details of that nav mesh. So I think we can just undock from sidebar those two things so we can actually do it in a better way. So let's just copy everything that we have from one, the location, copy, paste it, the scale as well, copy, paste it. Okay, now we can just delete this nav mesh, rename our previous one to this one, and just hit P to see if everything is just still working. If there's like it's still a nav, yeah, there we go. We still have a nav mesh going on. So let's just save it. Let's run the test again to see if that issue is now gone. So let's run it again. Let's make sure that match point is disabled. And let's run it. If that fixed that warning, and that's again, it's something from the Unreal Engine like 4.27 or 4.26 or whatever the version was when I add that test. The nav mesh was from a specific version, and when migrating, I'm really saying like, okay, your nav mesh is just too old. Even though it's their nav mesh, their component, they should be able to fix that, but they didn't care that much at this point. So we need to fix it by just deleting and re-adding it. So we don't have that issue now. See, just the null handle thing, which is something that they need to fix on their end. Or we can open a ticket, or we can fix this ourselves, but that's not related to the project or the the objective of this video. So let's go back and see if there's any other warning other than this one from the chaos system. Okay, looks like it doesn't. And if you go to the session front end, all the tests now are passing, so which is cool, which is what we're here for pretty much. So let's go to the functional tests now and see if those are still working as well. So let's just put everything here and see if they're gonna work. I don't think, I mean, functional tests are pretty flaky, so let's see if it's gonna work anyway. Okay, one failed, and it's looked like it's the widget, so let's run that one only again. So we might need to add the delay or something on this one. So let's just open that test and fix it as well. So pickup test. So let's find that one here. Okay, we found that test. So let's just add it a delay once grabbing it. So let's just go and add a little bit of delay here or something. So let's just add a delay. I don't know, 0.2 seconds or something. So that should be just fine to give it a time so the widget can show up. And this is like a blueprint test. We can do it in C++, but whatever, like, doesn't really matter. So let's go back and hit play on that test again and see if that's fixed now. So let's hit play again, see if it's gonna pass now. Oh, we hit all tests all at once, so. And there we go. So the tests are passing. We have like a warning that we might need to fix it, but which is like the screenshot test. Like once we migrated the tests from one version to the other, we might need to add a new source of truth because for some reason they're not identifying the previous screenshot test. So it's just a matter of like adding this as a source of truth. So we need to do what we did the last time. So we just need to add that as a source of truth. So we need to do that. We need to connect this to source control. You just need to find out like where that is into this new Unreal Engine version. So let me check it out. Now that source control is connected, so you can just go to settings or just click here onto advanced settings, look for source control and to do all settings. Oops. And then you can click and use global settings. And then once you do that, it's going to open that screen to connect the source control. So you just connect the Git. And once you do that, and it's all connected, you can now add the new source of truth. So now next time, just run it. And let's just run this one this time. No, let's run other things. So let's just do it. You should try to match and use that as the ground truth for the image, like the screenshot test. But the screenshot test is pretty flaky nonetheless, so it might not be even worth it. But now we passed, so we don't have any warnings, and we should be good to go. Your project is now fully migrated to the new Unreal Engine 5. So next time they release the final version, you shouldn't have like as many issues to migrate now because all of your code is migrated to the new API platform code, and all the functions that are deprecated is not being called into your code now anymore. So, yep, hope you like it.